To all the non-believers, 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 non-believers. I'm making out.
What's up, y'all? This is Jay Varsity, and this is another episode of NBA Talk. This is episode 126, and in today's episode is just me going over basically how weird this NBA season has been, because you have certain teams getting off to rough starts, and they're missing key players, and now I'm gonna try not to mention it because I don't want this to get demonetized or anything. Certain players have to be out for a certain period of time due to certain situations, and and it's just costing team. It's gonna be costing teams games. It's gonna be hurting a lot. It's gonna be hurting whether it's trying to be a playoff team or trying to be a contender. It's gonna hurt them in more ways than one, and that's just it's just frustrating a little bit, to tell you the truth. And you could kind of understand from a fan and organization point of view. Hence the fact that the I literally saw game highlights the other day, and the Sixers literally had only 7 players going up against a full Denver Nuggets squad. Like, that just, and then it wasn't all that situation, but it's just when you add that along with there could be injuries and all that, it just makes your season a whole lot tougher, because of the fact you gotta try to stay you gotta try to stay safe with all that's going on, and try not to get yourself hurt. Try not to get so exposed to somebody who may have contracted that situation. And it's just, I can understand from a player standpoint how it could be frustrating, but as an organization, it might cost yourself some games, and it might come down the line where it might cost you a big important game and possibly a playoff spot. But that's later on down the future. But right now, you got guys like Jason Tatum, Seth Curry, Bradley Beal. You had Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had to miss time. Bradley Beal is missing time. Jason Tatum has to miss 5 to 7 games. Bradley Beal has to miss a good 4 to 5 games, and it's just gonna cost. It's gonna be some big losses. And the Wizards standpoint, they 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 have enough losses as is. The Boston Celtics, they were just getting on a roll. Um, I as a Heat fan, I believe a Heat player also has contracted that situation. But yeah, this NBA season has just been very, very odd. It's just been very, very odd. And I don't know if anybody else can agree with me, because, well, I don't know why I said that. If anybody disagrees, write it down in the comments, because I just truly feel that this NBA season has been weird. Like, you had teams that you think that would be jumping right off the jump, that they would just come out swinging, and they wouldn't be having all these issues. Like, let me start again with the Brooklyn Nets. You had they started out rolling the first 2 games. They smacked Golden State and they smacked Boston, and then Spencer Dinwiddie gets hurt in the game against the Hornets. He's out for the season. Then KD has to quarantine himself. Kyrie refused to play against the Sixers, and he refused to play against the Grizzlies. And even before that, they were losing games. They had lost 4 out of their last 5 games. So now I believe they're sitting at what, 5-6, if I'm correct. If I'm not, write down the comments, please. And so that was their situation. Another situation with that is the you had the Dallas Mavericks. I don't think they had it as much, but they were just trying to find their rhythm. They couldn't. Luka was shooting terribly from the free throw line. Um, well, not the free throw line, the 3-point line. I believe he was shooting at 1.9%, and now is it? I think they're starting to find their stride. They just made it over 500, and let's see. You got teams like the Portland Trailblazers. You got teams like Miami, Indiana, that they're just up and down, up and down. Indiana is doing a little better than Miami, to tell you the truth. But Miami really starting to get on my nerves because the lack of a power forward is really starting to expose them. And it's becoming a problem. And I thought they almost fixed that problem in that game against the Boston Celtics. Don't get me started with that. Don't get me started with that ridiculous game winner. That, but Miami's lack of a power forward, the Jay Crowder's presence is a big deal in my opinion. Miami needs to fix this problem, and Kelly Olynyk cannot be the power forward in my opinion because he has slow feet. His shot takes. He might have a great. He could spread the floor with his 3-point shot, but in my opinion, he's too slow on the defensive end. And we already have a guy like Bam Adebayo that could defend the rim, and he's already quick on his feet. So I don't know who the Heat could pull off at the deadline or even right now to try to fill in that power forward spot. Because right now the power forward spot has been a problem. They tried putting in Mo Harkless. They've tried moving Andre Iguodala into the 4 spot. And I understand that yes, that they won the last game. They won the last game to the Washington Wizards. But when you're playing a Washington Wizards team without Bradley Beal and even Thomas Bryant tore his ACL, you're basically playing Russell Westbrook and a bunch of role players, and you beat them by 4 points. That's really alarming to me. So yeah, I've kind of expressed my point on this season just being weird. So let's just get on to some game takes, right? The Lakers played against the Houston Rockets. The Lakers are another team that for some reason I'm seeing that they play better on the road than they do at home. They're a little shaky when they play at home. So far they've lost to the Spurs, they've lost to the Portland Trailblazers, and they lost to the Clippers at home. So they've suffered 3 losses at home, but then they're undefeated on the road. Last night, yeah, they played against the Houston Rockets, and you know what you're gonna get from the Houston Rockets. You're gonna get a lot of threes, you're gonna get a lot of attempted layups and a lot of threes. You're not really gonna see a lot of 3-point shots. Christian Wood has been a great fit for this team. For those who have not been paying attention to the Houston Rockets, Christian Wood has just been he's been an amazing fit, especially at that center spot. He spreads the floor. He's another one who's quick on his feet. He plays his heart and soul every single game. If you knew his backstory, you understand why. But to me, I just didn't see that he was a matchup for Anthony Davis because he really talked about how he wanted to get matched up with AD, and I just didn't see that he was much of a problem, even though he could have played his heart out. But the Lakers, they just have more experience, more chemistry. The Rockets, they still need that. They still need that chemistry, and with all the drama they had with James Harden, with James Harden trading Russell Westbrook, adding DeMarcus Cousins, fitting John Wall into the system, even though John Wall has been playing amazing. It's just the Rockets have just been in a weird situation themselves, and they just need to get more games on their belt. They're sitting at 3-5. The Lakers are sitting at 8-3 after the Lakers blew them out 120-102. LeBron with 18, 7-7, which I could see. I could probably see people trying to make a big deal that LeBron, oh my God, didn't score 20 points in a blowout. I could probably see people making a big deal out of that, but it's not. A win is a win. The next game I want to let's get over on is the Thunder versus the Nets, and again, this is one of those situations where I say the Brooklyn Nets they're gonna be having those up and down games. First of all, Kyrie Irving wasn't playing again. This is the third game that Kyrie does not play. We need to know what this guy's reason is that he doesn't want to play. But we hear in the first game against the Sixers that he just didn't want to play. So I want to know the reason why he didn't want to play against the Grizzlies or against the Thunder. And Kevin Durant put up good numbers himself. He put up 36. He put up 36 points on pretty efficient shooting, but it wasn't enough to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Nets really struggle on the defensive end, and I've emphasized this in my last episode. The Brooklyn Nets are going to struggle on the defensive end of the floor. You could put up all the points that you want, but if you can't get a stop at some point in time, that's a red flag right there. You could try to put up as many points. You can have as many offensive talent as you want. But at the end of the day, game on the line, it could be a one-possession game. You need to get a stop. And I don't see that Brooklyn can get a stop even when it comes to rebounding. They have a rebounding problem. And you saw that in this game against OKC. And OKC was just attacking the paint. You saw no resistance from the Brooklyn Nets to try to stop them from going to the paint. Kevin Durant could play godlike, and I bet you they'll still find a way to lose. So yeah, the Brooklyn Nets took the L on that. I think they lost 116-109. The Los Angeles Clippers, they're another team that's up and down. There are days where their defense could look absolutely elite. And then you got days where they get absolutely smoked, and you wondering how they're getting cooked so easily. Before I talk about their game against the Bulls, let's just talk about the two games they had against the Warriors. The first game, they've held Stephen Curry to 13 points, and they end up beating the Warriors 108-101. But then the second game, it was just alarming to me how they took a 20-point lead and they blew it in the same fashion that they did the Denver Nuggets. Except this time, it took a superhuman performance from Stephen Curry to beat the Clippers. But it's just the fact that they allowed Steph to go off. He figured out their defense in just one game. And this is not the Golden State Warriors of the past. This is Stephen Curry and Draymond with James Wiseman and role players. And Stephen Curry figured out their defense that fast. So, and then you had guys, and then we talked about how Paul George started out so hot, how Kawhi Leonard started out so hot. Then why do they cool off literally the day after when they just literally played the same team the day before? Like, when you have a situation when you're playing against the Golden State Warriors twice, back to back, you just beat them the day before. How do you not put up the same strategy that you did last time? And then the crazy part about that is I say why didn't they use the same strategy? They kind of did. They were damn near triple teaming Steph Curry. And he still managed to cook them. I remember I saw a take on Instagram and I saw two pictures and both of them included Paul George. And it was talking about playing great defense on elite offensive players and how supposedly casuals, I use quote unquote, like to roast Paul George for getting cooked by elite offensive players. The point of the fact of my take on that is when Paul George had a situation where he's guarding a guy like Steph Curry, you can't give that guy room to breathe. You have to make him give up the ball, especially in a situation where Stephen Curry could ice the game, and which he did hit the step back three in Paul George's mouth to ice the game. Man, you got hit with two. He got hit with two ice cold game sealing shots. He got hit with the step back three. He got hit with a step back three by Steph, and he got hit with a jumper by Andrew Wiggins. So my thing is either you're giving up too much space, because that's the key word, spacing. When you're dealing with shooters, you can't give up space like that. Did he not learn his lesson from the Portland Trailblazers series when he was in OKC? Damian Lillard could shoot from that far. So why on earth were you standing so far back? When you're dealing with a great shooter like that, you need to make them give up the ball. You gotta make them give up the ball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, because you can't have a situation where, like, God forbid, he runs into a screen, he's gonna end up wide open. So, to me, Paul George needs to learn. Stop trying to be a hero and try to defend one-on-one. Those ISO situations make him give up the ball. That's it. Find a way to make them give up the ball. I don't care if you got to come through with a double, because I would rather try to have Kelly Oubre beat me to win the game than Steph Curry. I'd rather have Kelly Oubre or try to make James Wiseman win the game instead of Steph Curry. Well, there goes those games against the Golden State Warriors. But in the game against the Bulls, that was a back and forth game. The Clippers had a back and forth game. Well, excuse me. They had a back and forth game in the game against the Bulls. And the Bulls, they're just one of those teams that they're just going to stay in the game no matter what so far I've seen from this season. Because they even gave the Lakers a run for their money. And Kawhi Leonard went toe-to-toe with Zach LaVine. And what can I say? The Clippers managed to pull out the win. Zach LaVine was just absolutely out of his mind. But the Bulls, to me, are still not at that level that they could win those games, because they still make a lot of those same mistakes. Even though they had a decent lead throughout the majority of the game, and the Clippers came back late. The Bulls will be on their way there. Their talent just needs to develop. They just need another year to develop, and then I believe by next season, because this season is more of a development year when it comes to the Bulls. I believe next year is when we're going to start talking about certain expectations that they need to meet, because Zach LaVine, if anybody's been noticing, he's been improving every single year. He's an improved three-point shooter. He's elite at attacking the paint. It's just come on, bro. He's became such an elite offensive talent. And then you got guys like Kobe White. You have Laurie Marketing. You got really good young talent. So I believe the Bulls will figure it out, but I just don't think this will be the year that they figure it out. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to process myself because I know this weekend was a big weekend for football. So the NBA wasn't really as interesting because myself, even I was paying attention to football this weekend. So but yeah, it's just been quite a weird year, and we just need some form of normality in this season because, like I said, people get into certain situations, and it's just been very odd, and a lot of teams are taking a lot of weird L's and all that. Oh yeah, here we go. Another team I would like to get into is the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are sitting, I believe, at 1-6 or 2-6. This team has an identity crisis because they don't seem to know who they are at this point. You even heard Kyle Lowry quote, "When teams play us, they're looking at us like let's eat." Like they're running whatever offense they run against the Raptors. Pascal Siakam, he is not a first go-to option when it comes to building a team around. I'm just saying it right now. His offense is very limited. Fred VanVleet can only take you so far, and so can Kyle Lowry. But the losses of Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, those are just huge. Those are huge losses. The defense has been compromised. They can't guard. They can't guard a lick. And I think is a time that they just need to start thinking about the future, and they need to start thinking about rebuilding because this team is not that good. Plain and simple. I don't think I have anything else to describe them. But yeah, this is gonna be a short episode today. Like I said, this season has just been very weird. Certain teams getting into weird situations. Hopefully, within the next week or so, we get some form of normality when it comes to these seasons. And let's just see because right now basketball is not being talked about as much because of the fact that we're in the heat of football. It's the playoffs. So, but yeah, I'll try to keep up with the NBA content. If I don't put out anything throughout the week, I will most likely try to put out a video by Friday. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell if you like basketball content. This is your boy Jay Varsity. Stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.
We got some non-believers out there.
Make believers out of non-believers. Make believers out the overseers. Make them bow down when they